Back with you on the ML Sports Platter. It's all brought to you by our great friends, the new platter sponsor, Oneida Lake WalleyeFest Derby. It's my man, Matt Gutchess, the pro fisherman, YouTube sensation, sponsor of the show. We've connected now and we're buddies, and he knows I'm not a fishing guy, but he's going to teach me a lot about it. We have a lot in common, though, in terms of our sports fandom and just passion for something. And before we got on, talking about valuing a lot in life too. So we're going to try to do a lot of that as the days go on. Matt, it's such a delight, number one, to have you. You do great work. And also thank you for your support of my platform, man.
Oh, it was an easy decision. And listen, I'm local. I believe in supporting local anytime we can, whether it's through the Derby that you mentioned quickly, whether it's through my YouTube channel that I spend the bulk of my time on Oneida Lake. I grew up in Beeville. I graduated from Central Square. I live here in Brewerton on the river. I'm on Oneida Lake. I started on Oneida Lake when I was 3-4 years old with my grandfather, and it's never left me. And as many times in life as I've left, I always come back. This is my home, and so yeah, being local and supporting local and the great things you're doing and. Was easy, and I'm humbled to be here. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. So obviously we're sneaking up on it, right? I mean, we had a couple of weeks up here. You made some posts. I just want to give you the floor to kind of tie it all in, right? The event, ticket sales. There's some new technology roped into it, right? So just have the floor on what I think could be here, right? The most exciting year yet for you.
No question. This is year 3 for us. The Derby started in 1979. It was done by the local Lions clubs here. I fished it all through my young life, all the way through high school before I left for the military. When I was one of the original management team at Gander Mountain in Cicero when it opened. And at that time, the Lions Club had kind of fallen on hard times, and those kind of organizations, Lions, Elks, Kiwanis, used to be staples in our community, and they aren't necessarily anymore for a lot of reasons. And back in, this was I got to think of when that was, the early 2000s, I guess, the powers that be from the Lions Club came to us at Gander Mountain and said, we're not going to do it anymore. We couldn't get the sponsorship and the help that we needed. So I took up the reins back then and wrote the proposal for the corporate office, and we funded them for 3 years. And that's when they moved their weigh-ins and their awards ceremony to the Gander Mountain store there in Cicero, and it was it helped reinvent them and get them going again. But here back in 2022, one of my friends on YouTube, one of my followers, sent me a message and said, "Hey, the Lions Club isn't doing the Derby anymore again. They just don't have the people to do it, the manpower, and maybe you should try to do something with it." And we went to them and met with them, and my partner Chuck Orlando and I, Chuck owns Limp Lizard Barbecue here locally in Syracuse, and we went and paid them a generous sum, more than they'd made in a couple of years on the Derby, and we bought the Derby from them. And really, all that means is we bought their client lists, because we immediately started to change things, not only for the fact that it went from a, what do you call it? It went from a fundraising event from a nonprofit organization that went away. And there was some confusion, or, a little bit around that, but we bought it as a business, and we run it as a for-profit business, and have since day one. We still give to a couple different charities, to include the Lions Club as a donation after the fact, just as a public outreach, And last year, when the 2 officers, the Onondaga County Sheriff and the Syracuse PD officer, were killed in the line of duty right before our event last year in April, we set up a specific division within our Derby that was just for military veterans, first responders, current military, and all the proceeds from that one division we sent to the Syracuse PBA to go to those two families. And I think we ended up sending them almost $2,000 last year. And we had people that this year want to still donate to that, which we will do every year. So, we talk about local, we talk about, you and I are both local here. I believe in that. But you have to be, a business has to be profitable, and you have to run it as such and put out a product that people want to come and do. And we've averaged over 1,000 anglers in the first 2 years for a weekend derby here on Oneida Lake. And we kept it the same time of year. It's the opening weekend of the season, the first Saturday in May. And last year we were over at Bruton Speedway. We'll be there again this year. We got rained out last year for the awards ceremony. This year that won't be a problem. We've got the big circus tent.
Yeah.
We've got the stage. We've got everything going on. This will all be happening over there on Sunday only at Bruton Speedway. That's Sunday, May 4th. The Derby is May 3rd and 4th. And it's a walleye derby. We have walleye, we have perch, and we have youth divisions. We had 150 kids fish the youth division the first year we did it. And that's something that's near and dear to my heart as a kid that didn't have a dad. My gramp took me fishing, and if he wouldn't have done that when I was a kid, I can't tell you where I'd be right now. Sure. And so we really want to try to further that connection with the youth and getting people out with their kids and go fishing, because in all the turmoil we live in the sports world, Mike, with men or boys wanting to be in girls' sports and all that stuff, the beauty of fishing is it is truly universal, and anybody can do it. Man, woman, child, it doesn't matter. The fish on the other end have no idea who's on the business end of the fishing rod. There's no necessarily physical advantage to being stronger when you're fishing. It's really a game that's played up here. It's in my opinion, it's a lot like golf, because you're playing yourself.
Yeah, you're always looking in the mirror.
Yeah, and even when you're in a competition,
that's right.
It's not you against that other guy, because you can't directly affect him. It's you against you,
right? And
then we see where it goes. That's the same thing in fishing, and it really is. We have a women's only division.
Yep.
We have a men's only division. We have youth only divisions, and it's our way of trying to really be inclusive. And sometimes now in our modern world, those kind of terms are don't have the same connotation. The idea is to be inclusive and to bring more people into the fold, because I started chartering when I came home from the United States Army back in 1994 up in Pulaski, and I fished the Salmon River and Eastern Lake Ontario, and I guided and chartered. And in all my years and in all my thousands and thousands of customers and fish that I've caught with them, I've never seen anybody unhappy while they're reeling in a fish. And so there is a certain amount of therapy there too. And all of those things are deeply rooted in my heart, which is why I do all this, and this, even in the last 2 years, only doing one event a year, we have, I work year round at this. It never ends. And now this year, like you alluded to, we have a big year this year in 2025. We've spent, Chuck and I hired 2 developers, app developers here last fall, and we've developed our own tournament entry app, which has a social media side in it for our own personal use, just for our customers. We'll run all of our Derby functionality through this app, and and we will be expanding this year. I've got a big announcement right after our Derby this year about a team series event across New York State, team walleye fishing series. So we have a lot of exciting things going on, but our focus right this second is WalleyeFest, May 3rd and 4th. headquartered here in Brewerton Speedway in Central Square. On the Sunday, again, everybody starts fishing Friday or Saturday morning at 12:01 a.m. It goes for 36 hours until noon on Sunday. We'll be at Brewerton Speedway starting at about 11 a.m. on that Sunday. We have a free fish fry for everybody involved. We have two different live music acts. We've got Grizzly Ridge Band, and we have another band still to be named. We'll have some of our sponsors set up. We'll have boats. We'll have trucks. We'll have Preferred Power Sports is going to be setting up with some gear. We've got a lot of great stuff going on for that Sunday because that encompasses the fest part of Walleye Fest. And the more we grow, the more in my head and Chuck and I see the vision that we want to bring that carnival atmosphere to our fishing event and really make it something that our community and any community that we bring a Walleye Fest to, it really brings that community together and shows the tremendous tradition that we have in this state, especially of fishing and walleye fishing here on Oneida Lake.
You know, it's funny because the golf fishing thing that, you know, you need patience for both, and you can play it. You can fish and golf with others. You can do it by yourself. I always laugh when people say, oh, did you play golf lately? Maybe I'll say, yeah, yesterday I got 9 in or something, but it was just me. And oh, you didn't play with anybody? It doesn't matter because even if I go out, it's me against the course. So I've always laughed at that part of the solo job. I wanted to move into just a couple more things here before I let you roll. I've always wanted to ask somebody this question. What makes a great fisherman? You know, what makes a great angler? What makes a great, you know, how do you get to a level where you feel whether it's competitive or successful, or I know you go through the ups and downs like any other sport, but what makes a great fisherman?
It's funny. I don't know if I've ever been asked that, but I think I can answer it extremely quickly and easily. It's desire with a definitive plan laid over the top of it. Okay. And so you got to want to be out there. You got to want to be out there. And the more you're out there, the more in nature you are, and the more you see the ecosystem that is around any place that we fish. And when you're on the water, it does something to you. I can't explain it. It's just simply, it's that feeling. So you have to have the desire to be out there and do it. And then you have to have your plan firmly in place as to how you're going to attack it. Let's say you take your boat out on Oneida Lake and you've never been there before. It's an enormous lake. And so it can be overwhelming. It could be a little, off-putting, or you're like, well, geez, I don't know where to go. And maybe one spot's just as good as another. That definitive plan means preparation, means understanding what you do well and what you want to do, and then go and find the area specifically that you can do that in. And then everything starts to coalesce and come together. So I really think more than anything, like you said, you had the chance to get 9 in, so that's your desire. And then you went and found a place to go do it because you knew you had a window of time. Boom. And then maybe during that time alone in that 9 holes, you said, well, I really want to work on my short game, and I've got time. There's nobody else with me. Maybe I lay up on every hole because I want to hit that 50 to 100 yard chip shot in repeatedly because I want to work on something like that. It's the same. I believe it's the same analogy. You got to want to do it like anything else in life. And it really has to be that burning desire in you. And then you have to formulate a feasible, real, actionable plan that you can lay right over the top of that desire and start to see how it comes together. Because then once you put those two pieces of the equation together and the third, it results in a fish, boy, that's a great feeling. That's a great feeling when the plan comes together. Like Colonel Hannibal Smith used to always say, I love it when a plan comes together, and that's when it happens. And sometimes I know people that it's only taken one time for that plan to come together, and boom, they're hooked for life.
Yeah, you get that one, and then you make that putt, and it brings you back. Even if you had like a really hard day all the way, you got that one, brings you back, and the passion keeps going. And it's, look, if you have a bad day, you want to have another day that's better. If you have a better day, you want to keep the good stuff going. So it works both ways. You and I messaged quite a bit over the winter, and I know you were a very frustrated and down Orange Hoops fan this year. It was a tough year, and we'll see what happens next year with Mello's son coming in and the new crop of kids. Obviously, every year is hit the reset button. It's free agency, NIL portal, all the balls.
I know.
And it is the March season, which is difficult for a lot of SU fans because the big bracket is out and Syracuse isn't there yet again. So, which is pretty much an annual. It's almost, I think for Syracuse fans now, they're maybe finally realizing how spoiled they've been over the years, that it's almost like you start a season, you're like, all right, well, tournament. Well, what happens from there? I mean, it's almost like a booked stamped thing that SU is going to be in it this year. They're not. But how do you feel as a, I think I can call you a psycho Syracuse fan, but
I bled orange my whole life.
Yeah. How can I ask this? How do you feel now that the season is over and looking ahead? Do you feel a little bit better, the same? Where are you at in terms of your fandom for Orange Hoops and feeling about next year here?
It'll never go away, ever, ever, ever. I'm Syracuse orange to the core since I was a kid. I mean, I couldn't even tell you the level of importance it's held in my life on the football and basketball side, but basketball specifically. And I'll just quickly say it was so wonderful to have football be relevant again this year. And it really, you saw it in this town. Now, to start in the preseason for basketball, I really thought they had the talent. I really did. I thought
Bell and Starling coming back made me feel at least pretty good.
Yeah, and I thought we had the talent. And within those first two games of the regular season against, Lemoyne and somebody else,
Youngstown.
And we squeaked out wins.
Yeah, Youngstown.
I immediately thought, this isn't going to be good.
Right.
And saying that I thought they had the talent necessary all season long, there was that burning desire seemed to be missing. That whether it was, you read comments on everything and everybody's got an opinion. I don't know. This team to me seemed like it would have been better suited to play a zone defense, in which allows you to hide some of those weaker man-to-man guys. Because you look at even the SMU game, the second half of the SMU game, because the first half I thought we fought pretty hard against a good team that was well-rounded. In the second half, our defenders were letting guys dribble past them on dribble drives that no one was coming to switch and help, and they were getting beat one-on-one, and that kind of was the microcosm of the whole season for me. Lack of defensive intensity and no movement on offense.
Yeah, it was a rough go. I think Starling, they started to maybe get playing better, even losing to some powers early, and then he goes down. And then the Freeman injury later, he goes down. That hurt. But again, Bell.
And what happened to Elijah Moore?
Well, right, and that's another part of it. So now you have three pieces, and that adds a layer on top of you're going into the year as an unknown anyway, like the other 350 programs because of the portal and NIL and new kids and roles, and Lampkin comes in. And I think people don't get this part, people as in fans. When you construct a roster the way you have to construct it in free agency today, which it is in college sport, you're going into it with a lineup and a thought, and you tell people maybe at the start how it's going to be. Your role is this. You might promise another guy that. All these things, these balls are in the air, but then things change. I mean, within 1 week or 2 weeks, if somebody gets injured, there's another part to it. It's like, well, I was promised 15 minutes. Well, now this person gets hurt. Well, I was the star at some place. Now I want to be that star because somebody got injured. Well, if you don't promise them the minutes because they're not playing well and you give them to somebody else, now you have that player upset. And how much is he making versus the next guy? So all of these layers are part of it. And so therefore, the team part, how do you find the team? Because that's really what this is. You win as a team and you lose as a team. All the stuff goes on in the middle, but we know you don't need to be a genius in sports to figure this out. Whether you're a Michael Jordan or you're the bottom guy on the roster, you still win as a team. Now, it helps to have MJ. Syracuse doesn't win without Carmelo, the title, but they still had to have everybody else added to Carmelo. Quarterbacks in the NFL, right? They're half of it. You need the other half of it. So,
Yeah.
and I'm firmly of the belief that's why Josh Allen doesn't have a ring right now, because the other half doesn't, it hasn't kind of quite met up to him at this point. And maybe I am a little bit biased, but I watched Josh Allen play football. I think he's pretty damn good. So, but you get the point. It's the team part. So now those layers come into it. And this is kind of what you have here. You just have so many things that kind of came undone.
Yeah, you're putting together, theoretically an all-star team every year and trying to mesh all those pieces. And you may not have known these kids for long. You certainly wouldn't have recruited them throughout the process like the old days. I mean, Boeheim knew a lot of these kids when they were 12 to 15 years old, long before they ever made it to the university. They were on his watch list. So, it's a whole different world. And I don't know if college sports will survive it in the long run. And I don't know if people will keep watching it, because the name on the front is what means the most to us as fans. But when it's just interchangeable for the kids, and I don't begrudge anybody making money. I certainly don't. But and real quickly, on a side note for SU sports, tell me your idea of not Josh Allen, of McCord in the NFL. Where do you think he's going to go? And do you think he's going to make it? Because in my opinion, I do.
Well, it's a very hard question to answer, because a lot of it is where you're placed, the coordinator, the system, continuity, ownership. Does the GM put linemen around you? All of that. I've always said quarterbacking in the NFL, it's 50% you. You got to be the leader. You got to know the playbook. You got to do your thing, work ethic, blah, blah, blah. You got to grow with time. But then the other half is, well, what if your line stinks? What if you're on your third coordinator in 3 years? What if your ownership's terrible? What happens if you have linemen get hurt? So all of those things being said, let's say he gets put in the best possible situation. I think there's a really good chance for Kyle McCord. He's smart. He's got the instincts. He has a good arm. Systematically, it could work. Maybe he's second, third round kind of guy, but in a draft like this, where it's weaker, we may see that unheralded guy. Last year it was Jaden Daniels and Drake May and Caleb Williams, 3 big-time prospects. This year we don't have that. It seems like Cam Ward and maybe everybody else. I'm not a big Shadur guy, but you look at Kyle McCord down the line a little bit, maybe a second, third rounder. Maybe he is that diamond in the rough in the right possible spot. So I think if things work well around him, I think that he could be a really good pro. Put it this way, I think he's at least a solid backup for quite a while, and then maybe he gets his turn. I think maybe like Alex Smith, maybe one of those things, not pick number one, but maybe he lasts in the league the same way, and we know health is the number one thing. So I think that's where I stand on McCord. We went a little long, so I want to just in the final minute give you the floor on anything you want to send people to websites. Obviously, people got to hit this event, get your tickets, support the local fishing scene, and a heck of a lot more. And your social channels are rolling right now, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. You can find us on Facebook, the Awakening Angler and Walleye Fest, Oneida Lake WalleyeFest on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm the Awakening Angler. On YouTube, I'm the Awakening Angler. And for up-to-date Derby information leading up to the Derby, you can go to walleyefest.com, and tickets go on sale for the Derby April 1st. So that's the next big date we're looking at, April Fool's Day, to start selling tickets. We'll have all the information for the app and everything out there beforehand, but that's where we're headed. So walleyefest.com or YouTube is the Awakening Angler.
Beautiful. And that is no April Fool's joke. The tickets are on sale that day.
April 1st, we start selling.
You got to nail it. And obviously, if you follow me all over the place, ML Sports Platter, you'll be seeing the shares, all the plugs and stuff in the shows. So we're going to get people out this year and in droves, even more, and we'll start sharing everything double, triple time as we get close to the event.
Everybody's welcome. All skill levels are welcome.
No doubt. The Awakening Angler himself, Matt Gutchess, thanks for joining me here. Of course, Oneida Lake WalleyeFest Derby. WalleyeFest Derby is going to be unbelievable here in the local area. Thanks so much for the time. We'll connect here, I'm sure, a few times before the event. And again, thank you for your support.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, and thank you to all your viewers.
See you, Matt.